Welcome back to 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I am Hamburger Chariot, and I'm here with my best friend Mirth Mauser.
Oh, hello, we are back at it again, and we had so much to say here, we have to do it again!
Yep, we straight up did not have time for Keitaro Miura's prologue last time, so we're doing it again. We are going to have to go via the event archive and rewatch the scenes that way, but honestly, there's just so much to talk about with this fucking dude. I mean, my profile picture is Keitaro Miura for a reason.
Should say it all.
Yeah. Happy Pride Month!
Happy
Miura
Pride Month,
is gay.
everybody.
Yeah, shall we hop right in? We're gonna have another 48 minutes of fucking content for 2 minutes of screen time anyway.
Yes. Let us begin. Alright, let's put a... There he is!
It's the boy.
There he is. And there she is. They're so cute. They're so cute! He's so cute!
They are adorable. This is the first time that we are taken to the 2180s. We've seen a couple of snippets via, like, logs previously, but this is the first scene we get that's set there. And it is a doozy, let me tell you that much. The first time...
It's not just a doozy.
Yeah,
it's a mind blower.
Yeah, this was the scene that got me really hooked on this fucking game. I love it so much. This is the scene that made me realize that this is something special. This is the game that was going to dethrone my previous favourite of 5 years, Persona 5 Royal. Well, including the original Persona 5, not just Royal, but
just
still.
Persona 5, Persona 5 in general.
Yep. So, opening up the scene with, holy shit, 2188 Miura is so hot, what the fuck? How?
So cute. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. Just look at him! Just look at him!
Yeah, I already liked Miura from what little I'd seen of him, but damn, that's a fine-looking specimen right there.
Do I have to need something to hear your voice?
And the voice too. Oh, Zach Aguilar. How are you so good at this? You're like not even 30 yet. How is Zach Aguilar one of the best voice actors of the modern day, and he's not even 30 yet? It's like he was. It's like he was born for this. He's the Liza Minnelli of voice acting.
I guess not, but we're supposed to be working.
Do I have to need something to hear your voice?
Smile. You can hear his smile. Oh, he's so cute.
It's fucking adorable.
I guess not, but we're supposed to be working. How's everything on your end?
Sector 2's construction is going pretty smoothly so far. We should be able to sustain a second colony soon.
There is so much to unpack in this scene. I mean, they're already going on about Sector 2's construction, and the backdrop of this being some sort of space station, and we should be able to sustain a second colony soon. That there's so much that they're just dropping here.
And also the obvious that really threw me for a loop when I was going through this the first time. This is 2188, and they're older, and he doesn't have a scar, and as we will very soon see from the dialogue, is like the facts and history from these two characters don't line up with what their younger selves should know, and I'm like, what is going on?
And once you finish this chapter, you realize that this is chronologically the first scene in the game.
Which really screwed with me.
It's the future of 2188. They don't know things that they should know, and this is the first scene chronologically. Fucking what? This scene in particular is such a curveball to everything we have seen up to this point. there is such an abundance of information that we don't know yet that throws so many wrenches into what we do. And look at them, it's great characterization, we adore these people. And it's so fascinating too, like really getting to see 2188 for the first time. Though technically it's 2187, but shush.
2180.
All it'll take is 4 more orbit stops. You doing okay?
Still getting used to zero-G, and trying not to puke. As for the project, we've got a few complications. Got the ethics committee breathing down our necks.
Didn't know space exploration was a matter of ethics.
I love the delivery of Miura. Every line he says is amazing.
And he distinctly sounds so much different from his 1940s counterpart. You can tell that these two have lived completely different lives and have turned out to be very, very different peoples with kind of different codes of how they live. Like, yeah, they're biologically the exact same person. You can hear very clearly, that's Keitaro Miura. That's the same person we're going to hear later in this chapter. And yet he talks nothing like him.
On top of that, I love the... Okay, I've mentioned in previous parts of this spoiler analysis that they only got to write about 50% of the game that they wanted to write. And I feel like that becomes obvious when you look at a couple of the character arcs that don't get as fleshed out as they probably should have, such as Iori or Megami. But with some of them, I feel like while they absolutely work with what we have, some of these characters have a lot more room for depth that the game just doesn't have time to explore. And I think Keitaro Miura is the absolute biggest example of that. This is a very multifaceted character with a lot that you could analyze, and I think there is a lot of room to flesh him out via mediums like fanfiction, which I definitely plan on doing at some point. But more so than anyone else, I feel like we can get to know so much about this character in a way that we just can't with a lot of the others. Either because a lot of their depth gets brought to the forefront because it needs to, or because they just don't have as much depth, which is definitely true for a fair few of them. And there's other characters that you can definitely dive into and learn more about them that isn't necessarily required by the game itself, but Miura has the most, I think. There is so much you could dive into. Like, he's sarcastic, he's playful, he's loyal, he's proud, he's affectionate with the people he cares about, he's very kind, he's fiercely protective of his friends, but in a very different way to Hijiyama. Like, when you compare Miura and Hijiyama, who are the two soldiers from the 1940s, they're soldiers in very different ways. Hijiyama is very patriotic for his country and what his country represents. Miura is very protective of his friends and his loved ones. I don't think Miura feels any love for his country specifically. It's all to protect the people he cares about, which is a very different kind of soldier, I think, and it means the two behave very differently. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, specifically the people in his country. As he'll specify as we go through his route, he says stuff like, I'm happy the people of my country were able to rebuild, or I give my life for this country to protect the people in it. It's very specifically, when he thinks of Japan, his home country, he's thinking of the people there, not the pride of the symbol of the country itself. To him, it's like his neighbors, his family, the villages. is like the towns. That's Japan to Keitaro Miura of 1940s. For Hijiyama, it's very much the pride for this overall system. And it's not like he doesn't have pride for the people of Japan, but I guess that's it. Hijiyama has pride for the people of Japan, while Keitaro is more so the people in Japan, you know?
I think there's a lot of room to explore the relationship between those two as soldiers with different codes of ethics. But
Which we'll soon see.
Like, there's room to explore with a lot of different fucking people that Miura manages to talk to. Because Miura talks to a surprising amount of characters in this game for a little amount of time. Miura is sort of surprisingly one of the characters that gets around more. Because, like, obviously Natsuno is probably the main partner, but then you get BJ, because Natsuno's always with BJ. You get that scene with Shiwamiguchi, where Shiwamiguchi takes him to his apartment. You get stuff with Ei Sekigahara, both pre- and post-memory wipe, I believe. You get a bunch of shit. I think there's something with
Juro and Megami.
Yeah, you get Juro and Megami. There's, I think, some stuff with Yuki? I might be misremembering that one.
I think there's a scene with Yuki. I'm not sure how many though.
But yeah, Miura gets around. Miura has one of the more entertaining stories in this game, with some incredibly strong presentation, and he really gets around and gets to speak to a lot of different characters, which I think really adds to it. I like the characters that get to talk a lot more. One of the reasons I find Hijiyama kind of boring is because Hijiyama talks to Okino and basically no one else. They get a couple of scenes with Miura, a couple of scenes with Tamao, a couple of scenes with Nenji, and that's about it. So much of Hijiyama's time is exclusively with Okino, or alone, which just, I don't find that very interesting, especially when I don't think Hijiyama is strong enough of a character to really carry a scene by himself.
Fair enough to say. I was gonna say, like, that's personally why I really like the route, because it's squarely focused on those two. It's squarely focused on Okino's trying to unravel more and more of the mystery of what's going on, and it really focuses on the developing relationship between Okino and Hijiyama, and they get a lot of screen time with going through that step by step by step, and you're constantly in Hijiyama's head as they go through that step by step by step. And I thoroughly enjoyed that, and that's partially why those two are my favorite relationship to explore, because they spend so much time on it. But at the same time, if you're not enjoying the characters that they spend the most time on in this one route, you're not going to get as much out of it. It's very dependent on how much you click with the characters.
Some of the characters are definitely very isolated in their stories. Hijiyama is basically exclusively with Okino for most of his run. Megami is another one that's alone for most of the time, and I've gone in previous videos I've spoken about how I think Megami just really needed more time to flesh out her arc and show how in the start she used to talk to her friends like Tomi, and then slowly started closing her off. It's not that she can't be isolated, it's that she needs to build into the isolation and then slowly work out of it. I think she's one of the ones that really needed more time, but Miura is just such a great example of character writing in this game that's already great at character writing with basically everyone else. There is so much, like, I personally have a series of headcanons for the sexualities of all of the characters of this game, because it's me, why wouldn't I at this point?
It's your number one priority, after all.
I wrote them all down on a server somewhere, let me just pull them up. With Keitaro, my personal idea is that he's very gay. He is so gay. He is keyboard smashing whenever he interacts with a hot dude levels of gay. But he's very good at hiding his gay panic. So no one would guess it out of him. No one's going to predict it. He'll just tell people and they'll have had no idea. Natsuno is almost a beard in that sense, because Natsuno's probably one of the first people he tells.
How trusting and chill their relationship is. It's just because they're just happy to just talk to each other and have each other's company. It doesn't really seem like they need more out of their relationship other than that.
Yeah, I really like the idea that Natsuno and Keitaro are very, very, very close best friends rather than romantic. Because some of the romance in this game is a bit underdeveloped. Like, especially when you're comparing it to Hijiyama and Okino, who get so much time to flesh it out, that ultimately I just don't end up liking them because I don't think individually they're particularly strong characters. But like, Yuki and Shu, no.
Love characters don't feel much for their pairing.
Individually, they're both amazing characters that I love. Wow, they should not have paired those two together romantically. They are a bickering, divorced couple fighting over custody of the kids. Like, it's...
Basically were in the epilogue.
Yeah, they literally did in the epilogue. It's so... Yeah. And then you get Ryoko and Goto, who just kind of... Like, they're paired together, but they're not. But, like,
really? And
like,
they're
they're the two characters that don't have a pairing by the end of the game, but they're specifically in the same epilogue scene, and we see via one of the battle cutscenes that they used to date when they were in, like, middle school, I think. Like, Ryoko and Goto, despite not being romantically paired off, are definitely paired off in the sense that they're the two that don't have a romantic partner by the end of the game.
They gotta repopulate the Earth somehow.
And they used to date when they were younger. Like, so there's that. Iori and A, I mean, we suffered through Iori's shit, because, wow, Iori, girl, really? You didn't even know his name until the second last chapter of your fucking story, and he is your only personality trait. That's a pretty bad combo.
Not particularly a fan of that trope.
Yeah, A could absolutely do so much better. Who else do you have? You have Jiro and Megami.
They could have worked if they just ended it better.
Yeah, Jiro and Megami, again, it's the whole Megami just needed a lot more time. There's simply not enough of Megami's story in this game, and I get that that would probably make her story, like, double if not triple the fucking length, but, like, in the ideal world where we got the entire game, everyone would be a fair bit longer, because there's entire characters that they just didn't have time to include, like Hijiyama from one loop ago, who they specifically have stated was going to be a focus, and is just not in this at all.
That makes me so sad. I would have loved that.
And then you get characters that are severely underdeveloped, like Tamao, who just really need more screen time.
She's barely a character, let's be honest.
Yeah, Tamao needs more, and a lot of her only stuff is quite early on, so it can be easy to forget. Miura is actually where a lot of Tamao's screen time comes from, so another reason why he's one of the best in this game. But anyway, we should continue.
I guess something I wanted to say.
Up about our machines.
No. I guess I can say it a little bit as we go through the dialogue a bit more. It's still relevant.
Their self-replication is what's making the board nervous.
And to any sci-fi fans out there, self-replicating machines is a bit scary because you've seen other sci-fi stuff. Self-replicating machines? That sounds like a robot apocalypse in the making. Like, that's a bit scary right there. Are we sure we want to be okay with that? So you can understand why the ethics committee is not cool with that. but also, what are the self-replicating machines that are being used in this context? Isn't this a matter of space exploration? Why are they on some colony? Why are they talking about building sectors and sustaining people? Like, so much to chew on with this scene in particular.
And just the scene in general is probably the most sci-fi that this game has gotten yet. Just looking at this one scene and everything it implies. Not to say, the game hasn't been pretty sci-fi before this, but I mean, like, this especially.
Yeah, this is... Yeah. You can get a screenshot from most of the rest of the game and not immediately get that it's sci-fi. You look at a screenshot of this and you immediately know it's sci-fi.
Like the holographic screens they're using to talk to each other, the little glitches and numbers, the space in the background, the satellite they're on, the machine sound effects in the background, their spacesuits. You cannot get more sci-fi than this one their dialogue. They're talking about self-replicating machines, sectors, zero gravity, ethics board. You cannot get more sci-fi than this. This goes so thick on it, and I mean this whole game wears its love for sci-fi and all the different sci-fi movies and references it has on its sleeve. This especially goes all in, just this one part.
May lead to the invasion of intelligent life or something.
They're worried about a war with aliens that might not even exist. Shouldn't our ethics team be more grounded in reality? Shouldn't our ethics team be more grounded in reality?
Sorry, I love how sassy this man can be sometimes. There's so many little character traits that they don't put into the forefront with this character. He feels one of the most human in this game. There is just so much to him, and you don't need most of it. God, I love him.
You're one to talk. Still reading about history 24/7?
Okay, say what you want to say now, because we're about to get deep.
Yes.
We are about to get very deep into this. This bit is a lot of what made up the 48 minutes, and considering we're already 22 minutes in at this point, yeah, okay, I don't think we're going to need to worry about this being significantly shorter.
Yeah, we're good. I was gonna say, Keitaro's lines there were a perfect example of something I wanted to say earlier, is when I was talking about how different he is from his 1940s counterpart, despite being biologically the same. His character, above and beyond, really tests this game theme of nature versus nurture, because some characters are pretty similar to either their original counterparts or other versions of themselves just naturally, while some are so different. And I think Keitaro alone might be the character that is most shaped by his surroundings and what he grew up with, where he's far more nurture than he is nature, because how he talks here is so different compared to his 1940s version. They are radically different people just for when they grew up and what they went through.
And yes, you can still see the small details of his personality shine through both versions. And in the BJ version as well. Even in early BJ scenes, there's still a little bit of sass there. There's still a little bit of, okay, Natsuno, shush, go to the gate. We have to go to the gate, Natsuno. Stop talking about 24/7 fucking EXT, the extraterrestrial. Go to the gate, bitch.
The Sentinel, Natsuno.
Yes, the Sentinel.
I would pull out the BJ prop, but unfortunately his voice box broke. I need to fix it.
Aw, that's so sad.
He didn't make it through the con.
Oh, that's tragic.
I can fix him, but it's not working right now.
His voice box sacrificed himself so the rest of him would survive. It's just like canon.
Oh no!
Yeah, another thing I'd like to mention before we really jump into this next part is one of the things I love the most about Miura's story is the presentation of it. Now, the presentation of this game is incredibly strong. It has a very good soundtrack, especially in the battle tracks. The art style is absolutely gorgeous. The destruction battles, while they take a bit of getting used to, are definitely very good, especially with full game context of they are literally playing a video game from the inside and trying to escape. That's cool as shit, but some of the characters have their own quirks to add to the presentation, like Ryoko having to deal with her mental breakdowns and constantly eat pills, and the world glitching out around her being a representation of that. Or like so many other bits and pieces, but Miura, I think, has some of the most effort put into it, and we'll see more of that in a bit after this scene, but I want to bring into question the importance of how his story is delivered. Why is this scene, the first scene from 2188, the first scene of his story? We have not seen much of Miura up to this point, but when we unlock his story and we play his prologue, the first thing we see is a completely different version of him from 2188 that brings up all of these points to add to the mystery and all of this characterization with him and Natsuno. Why is this scene his first scene where he truly gets to be the star?
Really good point.
I really love it. I think there's so much to unpack with it. I think making this the first scene he's the focus of, it's so... I don't even know how to put it into words, but there's something so special about it that they're giving him so much intrigue and so many clues. Like, they specifically chose to make this the first time we properly see 2188. This is very much... because you can't see another 2188 scene before this, I don't think.
I think part of it is also Natsuno's and Keitaro's job in 2188 was already in this field of generally, space travel and human preservation and sector building. So this was already their job, and everyone else was kind of brought on board this colony and project as things got more and more dire. So I think part of why we're seeing these two first is, well, because of that. Like, how deep were they in the nanomachine infection at this point? Did it already start during this time, or does it start shortly after? Because they are making plans.
I believe
they're also talking about things like ethics board.
I believe they were already pretty deep into it, like years before we see any of this. Like, the nanomachine infection is not a new thing, I don't think.
But I guess it wasn't, globally wiping out all of humanity yet. Which, by the way, is so apocalyptically terrifying, but I guess we'll get to it when it becomes relevant. I'll save my thoughts for that later.
In, 60 hours when that finally becomes a focus because of how much we have to fucking talk about this game.
Gosh, that's horrifying. When this game wants to be horrifying, it can be really horrifying, and I love it for that. I love it so much.
So speaking of horrifying, we have some horrifying implications for Keitaro's character, but let's get a little bit further in, because you know me, I have a lot to talk about with this fucking character.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. I'm reading about the Pacific War right now.
The Pacific War being World War II, for anyone who hasn't caught on at this point.
200 years ago, right? When this all started?
When this all started, that is a very particular choice of line right there. Because 1945 is the earliest era from the sectors, but that also brings into question what, like, before all of this sector shit, in our Earth, in the story that led up to the creation of this plan, of Operation Ark, what started 200 years ago that led to this?
Is she specifically referencing to something I'm not getting? Or...
My theory is that it's Shikishima. Shikishima's growth started 200 years ago in World War II, and then Shikishima ended up causing all of this mess. So I think she's referring to the story of Shikishima.
Okay, because I was going to get something a little bit more out there. I was thinking, like, is she referring to basically where humanity went wrong, so to speak? Because part of why there was 5 different sectors is because they couldn't ethically agree on how to properly raise the next generation of humanity. They couldn't decide which era would foster the best philosophies and mindsets to carry them to the future. They couldn't decide where we went wrong, basically. And I'm wondering, like, is that what she means? Like,
that's another
where it all started? That's a bit more philosophical than literal.
It's definitely another possible interpretation, though.
Part of a world war involving countless powerful nations. It reshaped the way we approach technology and ideology. Like I said, fascinating stuff. If I could pick an era to be born in, I'd live around then.
Okay, so,
that line.
We're here. I need to stress that I do not remember quotes from media. That's not how I remember my media. I remember scenes, I remember my feelings in those scenes. I very rarely remember quotes. I could remember maybe 5 of them that aren't memes from anything, not just from this game. This quote has lived in my brain rent-free since I first heard it. This quote is the line that made me decide, oh, okay, this guy is gonna reshape my fucking brain, isn't he? And sure enough,
It did.
I came into this game after about 5 years of utterly adoring Persona 5 and its character of Ryuji Sakamoto. For 5 years, he is wonderful. For 5 years, I had an unchanging first place game and character. For a lot of fucking reasons that we don't necessarily have the time or relevancy to get into now, but a few games had slowly come to challenge that first place, but none of them had beaten it convincingly. And now that I look back on them with more context, yeah, none of them beat it. But this game, this line, managed to seriously contend in a way that nothing else had before. And once I got a little bit further into the game and got to see more of Miura's story, I decided, before having even finished this game, that Miura was the man to replace Ryuji, and that this game was the one to finally dethrone Persona 5 after 5 years. Now, to give an idea on just how insane that was, it had been my favourite game and character for 5 years at this point. And part of that is boosted by the fact that when I first found Persona 5, I was going through some really, really dark shit. And unironically, this game delayed it from getting worse. Like, Persona 5 delayed me trying to end it all for like a year because I loved it that much. And this game managed to dethrone it convincingly in my head before I'd even finished it. Because of this character and this line that I still think about every couple of days. So let's explore why this line is stuck in my head for like 2 years.
Yes, indeed, because I was beyond bewildered when he first said this line. Like, what? But you're older, and this takes place later in a game about time travel, and you're acting like you weren't there, and you don't have the scar. What does any of this mean?
So
This has thrown out all the rules that I thought I knew.
Not only is there the more obvious implication of, hang on, what the fuck? If you could pick an era to be born in, you'd live there. Your character lives there. And then once you finish the prologue, you realize this is the first scene of the game. Hang on. Is the entire game traveling back in time from here? Is the Keitaro Miura we're about to meet in the future from this? Like, is there some sort of system where they're traveling back in time and have forgotten their 2188 selves? Like, what? There's just so much to think about with that line. But then, you get to the more introspective side of it, which is a lot more character-focused rather than plot-focused, and you realize this is a man who, if he could pick any time of history to live in, he would pick an era known for its horrific living conditions, its absolute despair of the whole world being at war against each other. This man would pick an era where he would be drafted as a soldier and probably die for his country. And it's because, despite all of that, it was so fascinating to read about and important in the context of the entire world, honestly, but especially Japan specifically has a very unique relationship with World War II that I think a lot of people who play anime games like this and Persona and whatever don't really understand. Like, there's
it's a difficult thing to fully understand, granted.
Like, there's a fairly infamous anime series that's not really very relevant anymore, but used to be huge, called Hetalia. Hetalia.
Oh no! Why would you bring that up in front of me? No.
Oh god. But basically, to anyone who doesn't know, Hetalia is a show where all of the characters are human interpretations of countries represented in World War II, for the most part.
Oh, no.
And it's incredibly controversial because it's a Japanese show, so it's about the Axis powers of Germany, Italy, and Japan. And
was I obsessed with that when I was 14?
A lot of people don't really acknowledge the fact that, of course it's going to be from this perspective. It's by Japan. Japan were one of the bad guys from our perspective. Probably from the internationally accepted perspective, but from their perspective, they really like to revise a lot of their war crimes out of their history. And on top of that...
To be fair, America isn't much better at that.
Well, I mean, no one is really, but on top of that, they got hit with an atomic bomb twice. That is, far and away, Japan have suffered the absolute worst war crimes in history. That is not up for debate. It's just
it's factual.
And those atomic bombs have irreparably changed Japanese society and ideology and politics forever. Japan has an incredibly unique understanding of World War II and how it ended up. And I think that's something that a lot of people outside of Japan are just not going to be able to understand. That's something that isn't really easy to translate at all, but with the Japanese contextual lens of how fucked World War II was for them specifically, and he would still choose to live there more than anywhere else because of how fascinating it was historically. There is so much to read into that. Especially when you look into the context of the Keitaro Miura from the loops that we get to know, I think Miura has a very weird relationship with mortality. I think Miura, it's not that he's suicidal, but I don't think he holds much value for his life based on it being life. He holds on to the value of his life for the people he cares about. If he didn't have his little sister, if he didn't have Tamao, if he didn't have Natsuno, I think he would very happily just throw his life away for this war. He's an incredible soldier, but for a very different reason to Hijiyama. Hijiyama is an incredible soldier because he is dumb as a brick and incredibly easy to manipulate and brainwash, and he absolutely has been. The Hijiyama, even the 2188 Hijiyama, both of them have absolutely been brainwashed by their militaries in exactly the way that they want to be. Can you tell I'm pretty anti-military, by the way? I'm sure that's not obvious. But yeah, Miura is very different. Miura is quite intelligent, I think. They don't really make a point of showing it much, but Miura really strikes me as someone who, even if he's not the most book smart, he's definitely good at deduction. He can figure the pieces out. He is not dumb. And I think...
He strikes me as... Go on, sorry.
I think he's definitely one of the more intelligent characters here. He has a level of mental fortitude that I don't think he can be brainwashed. I don't think he can be tortured in a way that other characters could.
I was gonna say, he strikes me as someone who would be very hard to lie to, because he's very perceptive when it comes to reading situations and putting together the intentions of what's going on.
On top of that, I think...
Because we see, Hijiyama try to, live in the 80s, and we see Miura try to do the same thing. And Miura goes through, as we'll see, a whole process of trying to figure out what's really going on, what it could be, and he does put together the pieces pretty quickly once he has the right information, and his stance changes as he gets more information of it, and that just builds and builds and builds. He keeps his eye out for things that constantly change his perspective, and is trying to find out what to do with this. And even when people will lie to his face, he doesn't... You can always see a reaction, either just from him not responding, the tone in his expression, even if he doesn't directly confront people who are trying to lie and manipulate him. He just takes this information in and reacts accordingly.
I think
I was going to say something else too. I wanted to dissect this line further. If I could pick an era to be born in, I'd live around then. To build off when it comes, what you were saying about, their relationship with how they see World War II and everything they went through. It says so much that it is over 200 years ago, and he's just looking at this horrible time period to be alive in as a fascinating thing. He's so disconnected of what it would be like to actually live in it. Again, because of Japan's history with that war and the time period that passed with it, and it's all just history to him. It's just this fascinating simulation he wished he could live in, but it wasn't a simulation to those people. It was real life to those people. it's like, and it was awful, and a lot of them didn't know it was awful because they were very patriotic, but it's like they were made to be patriotic for their country. They were told to endure it. They were told, we are going to survive this war no matter what. And it's really quite sad that just amidst all of that, he just looks at it like, yeah, I'd like to live in that. It strikes me as him being just looking kind of callously at it, and again, the people during it also not realizing just how much suffering they were going through it. And that's not unique to Japan in specific. A lot of countries had the same thing, where they just want to tough it out, and probably look back in it in a sort of glorifying way. And it says so much about him that, yeah, I'd like to live then. I'd like to live in the worst possible time to be alive in the world. That's arguable, but still. And that it's not easy on 1940s Miura. We will soon see what he has to go through, the kind of person it turned him into, and as you said, how little he valued his own life because of the circumstances he grew up in. How he put his whole life into just protecting the people he loves and the people of his country, and the person he turned into because of it, and all the suffering that happens later because of it, and all the turmoil he goes through because the first version of himself said, I want you to live in this. It's like, here, the first version says, I want you to live this not comfortable life at all that will emotionally break you from the inside out, and that will make everything that happens to you in this game impossibly difficult to grasp and understand. But I found it fascinating, so I want you to live into it.
I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. When I decided that Miura was my favorite character of all time, I actually didn't really know why. I've always sort of struggled to figure out why I love him so much. But I think there's a sense that this character has been living aimlessly his whole life. Like, it's this sense of he doesn't care about the value of his own life. He lives for other people. He will just happily throw himself into danger. Not because of an adrenaline rush or anything like that, but because he doesn't have anything to live for other than the people he cares about. Like, he doesn't have some sort of life goal. He doesn't have this sense of self-preservation. He's just lived aimlessly his whole life. He doesn't need life in the same way that the other characters do. He fights for Natsuno. He fights for Tamao. He fights for his little sister.
Chihiro, yeah.
He fights for everyone, but not himself. And I think there's something about that I find very relatable in a way that is fairly rare. I don't relate to characters very often. When you've had a life like mine, relating to characters is kind of a bad sign, because it means they're probably very deeply traumatized. Hello, Ryuji Sakamoto. Hello, Maria Ushiromiya from Umineko When They Cry.
Oh, man.
Yep. But Miura, I think I've related to and not really understood why, and that's why I've loved him as much as I do. And I think it's this line in particular just has so much subtle characterization that you can extract from it in a way that none of the other characters can even compare to. Like, this is a game with 13 protagonists, and everyone is definitely a protagonist in this game. some of them are arguably more important than others. Like, some of them will get a bit more time, some of them get a bit more focus. Characters like Natsuno will end up seeing a lot of important events that will affect the outcome of lots of other characters. You get people like Juro and Iori who get to be the big characters on the posters a lot of the time. But when you look at a lot of the official posters, Miura also takes up quite a lot of space, but he's looking at the back. He is, I think, important and fleshed out in a way where you could make the argument that he is one of, if not the most protagonist of them all. But,
yeah, I see what you mean.
But it's in a way that they don't need to be. Miura can just be one of 13, but if you wanted to, he is one of the characters that I think would fit best into the role of I am the protagonist of the entire story, and ultimately, everything eventually comes back to me. I think with some extra time, they could have easily written a bunch of different character arcs for him specifically that could have led to him being the center of it all.
Sounds like a big mess to me.
Character?
What was it, sorry?
Like the poster boy center character, kind of like what Juro is. It's like, he's not technically the main character, he's just, the poster main character. I think you're saying Keitaro could have easily been that if they wanted to flesh him out even more.
I think he could have been more than a poster. I think he could have just literally been the main character that is observing all of these other stories and shit. And when I get around to finally writing 13 Sentinels fanfiction like I want to, I am definitely going to have a heavy focus on Miura, and going to see a lot of his extra characterization that the game doesn't do, or doesn't have time for, but I think is still very much present in canon, or is at least very compliant with canon.
Compliant for sure. We've got a few ideas rocking around, we'll see where they go.
Oh, well. If you'd like, I could send over some light reading on it.
I think I'll pass.
I love this moment, it's like right there, that little interaction where he's so interested and in a small subtle way excited to share something like he's personally passionate about to her, and that's in such a in contrast to their current versions of themselves, where you have Natsuno, who's so excited about all this nerdy stuff, loves talking about it, loves sharing it to the point where others like, I'm good. And now you have this in reverse. It's so cute.
Yeah, all I can think of after this characterization, honestly, is autism brain go brrrr. Like it fits. It fits. Keitaro is autistic now, I have decided. I am the authority on Keitaro Miura in this fandom. I mean,
I made the decree, there's no going back.
I genuinely do believe I am at least a contender for the biggest fan of this character on the planet, just because no one fucking talks about this game. So, like, people are known in this fandom as the one that really likes this character. You are the Natsuno fan. You've got people like Becca on Twitter that are the Nenji and Tomi fan.
As they deserve.
I think I am the Miura fan at this point. I think I am his biggest fan.
I mean, your name lit Hamburger Chariot. The hamburger comes first for a reason.
Yeah. And he's my profile picture everywhere for a reason. So, gay, autistic Keitaro Miura, best boy.
These two are cute.
So, any idea when we can meet up again?
It'll be about 420 hours till the next time I'm off.
Don't make a weed joke, don't make a weed joke, don't make a weed joke, don't make a weed joke.
Too late. 120 hours, how many days is that?
I'll keep in touch, Natsuno.
That's 3.5 weeks from memory. 1 second. 420 divided by 24. 17.5. Okay, so that's 2.5 weeks. 17 and a
My
half
goodness.
days.
2.5 weeks before he gets to talk to his own wife again.
Yep.
It's a good thing they're really good at long distance.
Yep. Yeah, I love the interpretation that these are like best friends for life rather than lovers. I really get that sense of a queer platonic relationship from them.
It's very cute and wholesome. I really love it.
Good. I'll be looking forward to it.
Bye.
Just bye. Aw.
Okay, so, I would like to bring your attention to the fact that instead of being shorter than the first recording attempt with this scene like we expected, we are longer. This took 56 minutes.
How long was the last one?
48.
Oh, we've beat our record without even trying.
So I don't know if we need to keep the first recording at this point, because we've gone
I think this
through
one's-
all of this shit.
Honestly, I think this one's better. The only difference is that we don't have 3 minutes of you lusting over his face. But I mean, we can keep that. You can post that separately.
He is fucking cute, though.
Very. Alright,
Yep.
next one.
We talked about one scene for 56 minutes. Fuck me. Let's talk about this one. October 1944, a particularly cloudy day. I begin military service tomorrow, standing by at the school. I was too excited and anxious to sleep last night. Pause. Oh, actually, no. Let's go this version of pause. Cool. Well, actually, let's let the
No,
stuff spawn.
that's how early we are here.
So 1944, this is the previous year. This is not the current year, because the current year is always ending in 5 in all of the sectors. So this is the previous one. I love the opening where we get to see what's almost like a military journal in his head. Like, this reads like a military journal that we discover in a trench or something. And it's so fitting for his character. Like, of course the character that would be so obsessed with history would be recording his own history in a journal like this.
Not just that, it's very also reflective of Keitaro of this time period, that he has grown up in such a militaristic atmosphere in the midst of a war, that this is how his brain would calculate his day-to-day life. It's even in the I was too excited and anxious to sleep. He is so eager to take the step forward, to do what he can for his country, that it goes so far to permeate his thought patterns in his own head. Like, he is so reflective of the time period he is born in.
And I think there's... I'm trying to find the right words here. I think these military journal-esque intros also add to the context of my characterization, where he's living sort of aimlessly. Like, he doesn't have much in his life that he lives for until this happens.
That he lives for what he wants to do, and he lives for what he can give. He's eager to give everything to his country and the people in his country. He's not thinking about what he wants to do in his life. He's thinking, my life is to serve and give.
So can I just say, wow, his character design. I mean, it's so simple, but something about it is just so striking. Like, you've got the ill-fitting uniform with the bandages on his feet. Like, it just...
He
and the
does wear
cap...
bandages on his feet, actually.
He's the only character that wears a hat, so there's that distinctive trait. And he's got the scar, obviously. The way he runs, it's sort of like he's staring at the floor a lot of the time. When he thinks he's got this...
Well, the reason he runs that way is to keep his hat down from showing his scar. I mean, and this is just the same body language he's gonna have later on. It's just, they're not gonna animate whole new body language for this one scene he doesn't have a scar. But that's why he runs with his hat while holding his hat, so it doesn't show his scar.
Takatoshi-san.
A brand new schoolhouse with all its luxuries. And not a single student attending.
They need every able-bodied student at the factories.
I know, we're in a state of emergency. Just a shame that it's come to this, I suppose.
And yet another example of the scarily efficient characterization and world building of immediately setting up the tone and what's going on to these characters.
I heard a rumor from the Marines at the port. They say we have no ships left. That it's a hopeless war. He's a year above me, but we're the same age. We grew up in the same town together. He was such a mess. Seems like he's shaped up, though. He's found a certain dignity ever since he enlisted.
What's wrong, Keitaro?
Envious about
You resent being drafted?
No.
Takatoshi finding a direction in life.
Mm.
Just ever so slightly. Not too much, just slightly.
Just, of all people, why'd they choose me?
Don't let your nerves get to you again. You'll get to fight for your country before your peers.
And it's the way that this brainwashed soldier is so giddy about being able to fight for his country before his peers. Like, yes, you get to go die off in war before anyone else. Look how exciting that is. And it's such a good contrast between someone who is questioning why he was chosen and someone who's like, don't worry about that, you got to be chosen to die before anyone else. And he's so happy about it too, and it's so sickening and so accurate, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love how uncomfortable it sounds. Like, just in Keitaro's tone when he says, "Of all people, why they choose me?" It sounds like he's actually asking, "Why did they choose me?" He sounds almost a little suspicious of why he was picked, and Hijiyama just assumes like, "Oh, you're just being a little self-conscious. You should be proud you were picked." When Keitaro's like, "No, why did they choose me?"
Yeah, Keitaro's definitely suspicious here.
And Hijiyama is just
it's just
completely
such
ignoring that.
It's just such little details of characterization. So much of Miura's characterization is subtle. Like, with Nenji, you know, oh, he's a bit of a dumb guy that likes to punch things, and he fights a lot, and he's blunt, and he's vulgar, and this is all very up in the forefront. Or you get Megami, who's closed off, and distant, and untrusting, and kind of a psycho. Or you get Ryoko, who, again, closed off, distant, untrusting, kind of psycho. Whoops.
Very psycho, actually.
Whoops, they kind of did that twice.
It's alright, Ryoko's better at it.
Yes. Or you get Natsuno, who's dumb, and an airhead, and loves aliens and shit.
And bubbly, and optimistic, and adventurous, and cute.
And this is all up in the forefront. This is very blatant characterization. You can't miss it. Miura has a lot of sort of subtle, detail-oriented characterization, which is part of, again, why there's a lot more to dig into with him. You feel like there's more that you already know from the outset with other characters. Like, there's less to dig into because a lot of their characterization is more blatant and open from the start, where with Miura, it's a lot more like you have to do the work to understand the character.
That's an honor and a privilege.
Is in his tone and specifically the wording in his dialogue, which I love. I always love, you know, when I'm really analyzing what they say and how they say it.
You don't have to worry anyway. One look at it, and you'll know this war is ours.
At what exactly?
Pride in his voice.
I can't say too much out here, but we have a secret weapon. Our own key to victory. You'll see it in the armory soon enough.
But we're just students. Why do we have access to something so secret?
Again, the
Again.
suspicion, the deduction
Yeah.
work. Like, he's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here in a way that
Hijiyama.
a lot of the characters don't really try that hard to do. Like, a lot of the characters aren't really actively trying to figure out what's going on. Sometimes they don't
Hijiyama's-
necessarily need to, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, Hijiyama's not even questioning it. He's just like, no, don't worry about it. We have the weapon that will lead our country into victory. We are going to crush America with this.
And he doesn't
And
think
Kitaro's
about,
like,
and he doesn't
yeah.
even think about the fact that, like, as Okino points out in the prologue, do you seriously think that the Sentinel is something that could have been built in the 1940s? They couldn't have even built it in the 80s. No, this was built in the future, and not by humans, but by an automated factory. And it's so telling to Hijiyama's character that not only is he not inquisitive, not only is he fairly dumb, he actively does not think. He is so not suspicious of anything that he gets told is for his country, and it's so fitting to the brainwashed soldier archetype that he plays. It's really strong. Like, Hijiyama, as much as I'm not particularly interested in him as a character, he is a very well-characterized character. It happens to be a character archetype that I don't find the most entertaining, and I don't think he can carry a plot by himself, but he's very, very good in terms of
Effectively
characterization. He's very well written.
yeah, very effective at what they're going for with the role.
And I think that role is at its most focused on in Miura's perspective, where we get the contrast of these are the
Yes,
two
yeah.
soldiers. How are they different from each other? Very.
Because we've been chosen as pilot cadets for that very weapon. But keep it quiet. Maximum level security. Not even your family can know.
Understood.
That much he accepts. Well, he accepts that it's a, top secret, but
Best of all, we can stuff our faces when we get there. So don't worry too much.
he's smiling with that, but
Hmm.
you're telling Keitaro not to worry. No,
A
this is gonna be on his
weapon
mind for a
powerful
while.
enough to win the A secret weapon powerful enough to win the war. And out of all the potential pilots across Japan, they chose me.
Again, the gears are turning in his brain, and you can hear it in his voice. Zach Aguilar is such a fucking prodigy at this.
He's come such a long way. Like, how did he get this good in just a few years? Blows my mind.
Not only does he have the talent, but he has the drive to improve. And he's really pushed it. Zach Aguilar is definitely one of the best voice actors of the modern era.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah, with how much he's improved this fast, easily. Again, fully expect him to be in the next Persona game. There's not a doubt in my mind.
Because he only started in the 2010s, right? Like, a lot of the
He
other
was-
voice actors here and in other stuff started a fair while ago. Like, a lot of them started in the 2000s, some even earlier than that. People like Veronica Taylor have been doing this for decades.
Yeah. Zach Aguilar was 18 when he first voiced Genos in One Punch Man, and
And that was
I think
20
I've said it before.
That was 2015, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was dubbed that year, but that's when the original anime came out.
So at earliest, he's been working since 2015, and he was 18 at the time.
I
Fucking
will
hell!
fully admit, he was not that great in that role. But you know what?
Still though, the point
was-
stands that he only had like 5 years of experience going into this.
Yeah, that's my point. He just from that when he was only 18 to this, This is like the biggest improvement I've seen in such a short amount of time. It has been an honor listening to him grow.
He did this when he was like 22, 23. He's younger than you.
Yeah, I want to say he's either
What?
24 or 25 right now. But yeah. Only 20. He's so young when he did this.
This just has to be a case of, like, he was born to voice act.
Yeah. And he got really good at it really fast.
I cannot wait to hear him play the best friend character in Persona 6 that they will not...
I really hope that's the role they give him. I beg, please, Atlas.
And they won't let you be gay with him.
No, not again!
Not again. They won't let you be gay with him. Cause Atlas... I mean, I don't know. We did get Catherine Full Body, and as much of Catherine Full Body was Catherine Full Body, that is technically a male-on-male romance there.
But
that did happen.
But it's Atlas.
And when you count that Persona 2 exists, and there was the unused romance in 4, it's possible.
It is.
I don't have faith they'll do it, but it is possible. I hope they do it. They should do it.
They really should.
They really should. But, like... Yeah, Atlas are kind of... Atlas are weird in that they're both slow and fast with this. Like, they've gotten slower as time has gone on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like they've taken steps back, honestly.
Yeah, they've honestly...
And then Vanillaware took 5 steps forward.
Because I believe there's a few Megaten games with LGBT representation in them as well. Like, I think the Digital Devil Sagas have them from memory.
I haven't caught up on those, I wouldn't know.
Like, I think there's trans representation in one of them. And those are, like, PS2 games.
There is in Catherine. It's actually not. It's actually not bad trans representation, despite some unfavorable comments here and there. Again, 2 steps forward, 1 step back with Atlas. I swear, it's like they're good. They're good when they're good, but then they always gotta. They always have to. It's like, yes, but we have to say this uncomfortable thing now. And it's Atlas. I've made peace with it. I expect it. I don't get too up in arms about it. It is what it is, you know.
What can I do? Will I be any help at all?
And he's lacking the self-confidence in himself to think that he'll be helpful at all.
What can I do? Will I be any help at all?
Thinking about what he can give.
So what is this new weapon?
We've been calling it a Sentinel. A heavily armored craft that requires a pilot to operate. It'll help us gun down the enemy at our shores.
So the Americans really are coming for us.
They're coming for everyone, buddy.
Unfortunately.
We've been forced to abandon many of our posts overseas. At this rate, we'll have to end this on the mainland. Our homeland's future is in the hands of this Sentinel. But they're good hands. A single Sentinel rivals aircraft carriers in terms of power. No, it could outmatch an entire military on its own.
Confidence.
Whatever they've got will keep our homeland safe.
On the one
and one
hand,
day, we'll take the fight to American soil.
On the one hand, his almost kind of bloodlust for the glory of the battle is chilling and uncomfortable to hear. And on another hand, he's also talking about defending his home country, which he has a right to be passionate about. He has a right to say, like, no, we will defend this land and the people we love in it to the death. And it's hard for me to blame him for feeling that, but it's also chilling to hear him wanting to go from, we have to defend our homeland and then we'll take it to them.
The chilling part is the defending of his homeland is only a small part of it. The defending of his homeland is a justification that he has been brainwashed into thinking by his military. The defending of his homeland, because he is so aggressive with it, even in gameplay, he has a Generation 1 Sentinel. The worst one, but he has a Generation 1 Sentinel that is specifically focused on getting up close and personal and aggressive with boss enemies and destroying them. And you can really feel that compared to the Generation 3 Sentinel Miura ends up in, which is a lot more like distant and focused on area annihilation, it really fits their characters a lot.
It
like
does,
I feel like
it does.
I feel like some of the characters get less characterization on their Sentinel. Like, you get some of them. Like, Yuki gets her leg spikes. Cool. Awesome. But at the same time, like, some of the characters, I feel like they didn't really think, we need to give this character this kind of Sentinel because it fits their character. I think with some of them it was just, we need to have this many Sentinels, we have this many characters, let's just give them to whoever. But with Miura and Hijiyama, it feels a lot more intentional there. Which is just, like, again, pieces of their characterization being great. But anyway, sorry, the point was, with Hijiyama, he is so aggressive. He has this bloodlust that is so chilling and horrifying and accurate to history. And it's such good writing. I love how honest they are about it here.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with, they're very, very honest that this is how it was. This is how they felt. And it is an honest reflection at how uncomfortable it is. And, well, because you were saying earlier that, Japan does have a very unique perspective with World War II. And this feels like a both honest dissection of how uncomfortable and chilling it can be. And, well, how much of this glorification is something maybe people still feel to this day, and how much of it is, this is how it was then, and if it makes you uncomfortable, that's the entire point. How much am I looking at this through my, Western brain, and how much of it would a Japanese audience see from it? Because it does feel like an honest reflection and retrospective. It really does.
And we can see here, it's even making Miura uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone else would come here.
I'll see who it is.
Yep, them. Oh my god. Okay, so, another headcanon. I mentioned that I personally headcanon Miura to be very, very, very gay. Tamao is an absolute lesbian. Tamao is the functional, distinguished lesbian that has her shit together. Versus Yuki, who is an absolute disaster.
Tamao-san.
So this is where you've been hiding. Takatoshi-san.
Everyone enjoy your 5 minutes of Tamao screen time.
Look at you.
This is all you're getting.
Such a gentleman now.
Another reason why Miura is great.
What brings you here?
Okino being self-conscious.
I had to see Keitaro-san off. And when I heard you were back too, I had to come.
Okino's like, please don't look at me.
I wanted to give you this. I made some
I'm
ohagi
pretty sure
for
this
you.
is this is when Okino was first starting to
Yeah, this is the first time she does it, I think.
Yeah, when Okino first dresses as a girl.
I made some ohagi for you.
Can I just say, as a Higurashi fan, ohagi is a choice, considering there's a scene in Higurashi fairly early on where one of the characters gives ohagi as a present, and then it turns out, whoops, there were needles in it.
Oh no.
So when I first played this scene, that's what I was thinking of, and I immediately got a bit suspicious, but clearly we're not supposed to be here.
Maybe you and Takatoshi-san can share them.
Well, I am partial to ohagi.
The rations don't give us that much sugar.
Again, we're seeing like conversations on the rations and shit.
I'm afraid they won't be very sweet.
I'm sure they'll be delicious. Thank you.
sugar, meat, that coffee, that sort of stuff was pretty scarce for civilians during wartime.
I really like the idea that Keitaro and Tamao, being gays trapped in 1940s Japan, become that sort of queer platonic lifelong friend pairing. Like, I really want to explore that when I write shit. These two are gonna have a very close relationship where they like get to rant to each other, like, oh my god, this boy was so cute, or this girl was so cute. They'll be like family to each other, basically. Because like we already
are family here.
Yeah, in canon we get to see that they basically treat each other like family. Like, Keitaro does end up at Tamao's house in the 1980s, and here Keitaro gives his little sister to Tamao.
And when he goes to the 1980s, you know, he says, you know, I was very close with the Karabes. So his family and the Karabes are very tight knit. It's basically an extended family in a way.
Is this a friend of yours?
Yes, I invited her along.
Pardon me, but
Stares at the camera.
Yep.
have we met?
Oh, that's Kiriko-chan. She came to us from Tokyo.
It's fine. You really don't have to introduce me.
He's so self-conscious.
But he's asking about
It's kind
you,
of funny to see him
Kiriko-chan.
self-conscious considering how much he owns it pretty quickly.
See, I actually don't think it's self-consciousness. I think it's acting. Because he's good at that. Like, we
That's
see
true, very.
throughout the rest of the game, Okino is a good liar and a good actor. I think
Shocking.
this is Okino lying, acting as if they're self-conscious, simply because they don't need to get to know anyone to complete their mission, so there's not much point in doing it.
I see.
I'm Kiriko Doji, sirs.
That's a blush.
Oh, he's like, oh, you like what you
Takatoshi
see?
Hijiyama. I'm Takatoshi Hijiyama. Pleased to meet you. Wait.
No matter how many
Doji?
lifetimes later, you know when you see your soulmate.
You know those memes of it's like, have you ever seen a character that is just so functionally gay that you cannot imagine them being with the opposite sex in any timeline or whatever? Change that meme and it's, have you ever seen a pair of characters that are just so fundamentally into each other that you cannot imagine them with anyone else in any other timeline? And it's these two. Like, I straight up cannot imagine Hijiyama and Okino being with anyone else. At all.
Any
I mean,
relation to
considering
Professor Heizo, Doji?
How all over each other they were in that recording. It's so cute that just like even all these lifetimes later, even when he thinks Okino is a girl and in disguise and by another name, he's immediately smitten. Like, no circumstances or lifetimes or sectors or any of that could keep them apart. And I love that. Again, it comes back to, you know, some pairings are dictated, well, not dictated, happen through, you know, circumstances and who they grow close to in those circumstances, and some just naturally come back to each other regardless of the lifetimes they live. It's nature and nurture, and I love that. I love that so much. I love that we have both.
I'm his daughter. I hope that doesn't bother you.
As you can tell, I really like Hijiyama and Okino.
Yep. We can tell.
It's okay. I'll be the obsessive one of the two of us. You don't have to like them. I'll like them for you.
Lamau. But yeah, if my hyperfixation trio is Keitaro, Amiguchi, and Sekihara, yours is Hijiyama, Okino, and Natsuno. I think that's fair to say at this point.
Yeah. Although I do.
They're your
too.
big three.
I do love Miura too. But
Yeah.
I
I love like 8 of the characters in this game dearly, to the point where I call 8 characters a 10 out of 10. But I still have a holy trinity of hyperfixation. I think these are your big 3.
I'll give you that.
No, far from it. I just never imagined his daughter would be so...
Aww.
I've heard about Kiriko-san's father. They say he's a remarkable teacher, though I didn't
Charles is
realize he was a
oblivious to
professor.
Keitaro
Not
doesn't
oblivious.
care. Keitaro doesn't
Yeah,
care
not
because he's
oblivious.
gay.
Yeah, it's not that he's oblivious. Yeah, he doesn't care. He's got other stuff on his
Do
mind.
you and Kiriko-san know each other?
We do, yes.
That line delivery though.
We do, yes.
God, the awkwardness is so good.
And it's just not the awkwardness. It's almost like, almost accusatory. Like, don't assume anything. It's like both
So you two are
awkward and
friends?
no.
Just friends, right?
The face! Oh, that face! He is scowling.
He's over this.
He is so disappointed in Hijiyama right here. He is scowling.
Professor Doji's here?
And just doesn't even dignify it with a response. Just goes straight to Professor Doji.
If he's at the armory, that can only mean...
That's enough, Keitaro. His involvement with the new weapon is highly confidential.
Idiot. Hijiyama's dumb as brick. And again the scowl, because Miura's not dumb as a brick.
I mean, damn it.
Hijiyama.
Don't worry, we won't
You
tell.
might be dumb, but I love
You're
you
pretty
anyway.
funny.
You're pretty funny.
Don't worry, we won't tell. You're pretty funny.
Yep. No man would ever say that. Again, very, very good actor. That's actually one of the big things that makes me think, yeah, this is acting, this is not real. I think this is not Okino being self-conscious. I don't think he cares enough. I think this is him just seamlessly sliding into the role.
Of a shy girl.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Tamao, have some screen time.
Keitaro-san, do you know where you'll be stationed?
He'll be working alongside me. The armory's not too far from here. However, it may be some time until he's back.
Tamao-san, you and the Kurabes have been nothing but kind to me. I can only give you my thanks, from the bottom of my heart. I'll have to leave my little sister with you, so please, take care of her for me.
He's so serious about it too. He's so serious when talking about his little sister. You can really feel how much he loves her. And then, oh god, one of the really fun pieces of existential horror in this game is, wait, my little sister wasn't my little sister. She was a clone of someone else.
We'll get into it. That I really want to talk about that so much when it happens, but we'll get into it.
Don't you
There's
worry about a
layers
thing,
to that.
Keitaro-san.
Yeah, we should probably save that for another video when this one's already an hour and a half.
I have a lot I
take
want to
good
say
care
about
of
that, but I'm holding my
Chihiro-chan.
tongue.
Yeah, there's better places for that discussion.
And tell her I won't
I
be
was
gone
gonna
for
say,
long.
I think the idea is that since Keitaro and his sister don't have their parents, that they live with Kurabes. I think that's what happened.
Don't you worry about a thing, Keitaro-san. I'll take good care of Chihiro-chan.
And tell her I won't be gone for long. The second I get time off, I'll come visit.
Keitaro, it's almost time. They're expecting us. We'd better get going.
I'll be back.
I love that emo.
Do take care, you two.
Bad about Zach Aguilar.
promise.
He plays a lot of older
I'll
brother
be back.
characters.
Yeah, he's definitely got a type. And a lot of,
Many.
and even when he's not an older brother, he has a lot of characters that are very focused on family. Ota Matsushita from I, the Somnium Files. Great game, play it. Another sci-fi mystery game. I think I have a type here. Also, it's by Kotaro Uchikoshi, who you may also know as the guy behind Zero Escape. Another sci-fi mystery series.
Which I really need to get around to one day.
Zero Escape and I, the Somnium Files are both fantastic. Great games. Zach Aguilar is Ota Matsushita in I, the Somnium Files. He's great. Probably the best role I've heard him in outside of 13 Sentinels. He does a great job. Ota's a great character. Delightfully annoying in the best way. But I'm not going to spoil why. Okay, we are 2 scenes in and this is 90 minutes long.
Let's get a move on.
Yep.
Can we hit 2 hours?
Oh, easily.
May
1945, clear skies today. I'm off this afternoon until 0800 tomorrow. Again, really selling that whole military journal vibe from his presentation. So this is a few months later after the previous scene. This is 1945, I think. Yep.
That musical sting immediately puts you in the mood for this scene.
And the way that, because this is all from his perspective, but a few months later to him means at least 6. That's a long time.
It is.
And I think it really adds to the whole, his life sort of just flows with or without him. He lives kind of aimlessly. He doesn't have much value in it. Again, just such subtle characterization you can pull from seemingly nothing at all. Fuck, I love his character.
Like, he's been absorbed.
What was that just now?
Being a pilot for the Sentinel.
What was that just now? Some kind of flash. Lightning, maybe. It came from around here, I think.
I think this is the scene when we started needing to rush.
Yeah. Unfortunately. But we got more time now. We are good on time.
Tokisaka Shrine.
So I know this is dumb, but for some reason I just really love how he looks from this angle.
Hand on his hips. Just
tiny fucking waist. Back of his neck looks very kissable right here. Oh wow, boy hot. I'm trying to not get into deranged thirst, especially since I'm recording with my dad in the room, Lamau.
Oh no!
Not that he'd care, but still.
Maybe I saw a visiting god.
The deranged thirst was kind of inflating the time of our first attempt at recording this section.
It's okay. We're gonna get a lot of Miura. We'll have plenty of time for that.
And it's surprising that, despite the fact that this is already longer than our first recording session, it doesn't feel like there's been any filler in it. Like, we've talked about more, and it's been a lot more important and relevant. But also, one of the reasons I like Miura, especially early on, is because, wow, he's fucking hot, and he's very much my type, both in 2188 and in current. Damn, would smash.
Not likely. Maybe I saw a visiting god. Not likely.
I love how much of a realist he is. Like, he's good at deduction, he's smart, he's a realist. Wow, he's relatable and intelligent and also hot. I wonder why I like him so much.
Just the way he laughs off that line when he says not likely, I love that read so much.
And passively suicidal.
So much for my first day of time off. It's already night.
Oh, I know how that feels exactly.
And the fact that he doesn't know what to do with his time off is just relatable.
Chihiro's probably worried about me.
And the fact that he was able to pick up on such a minor sound as that. Like, I only would have picked up on that sound because I already knew it was coming.
State your name. I know you're there.
Soldier ears for you.
Freeze!
Run, Natsuno, run further!
Who are you?
Nope, you're caught.
Strange girl.
Now for one of my favorite lines.
Yep, this is another great one.
Shouldn't you be wearing pants?
Best character.
That is the best response. That is the best response.
So he's gay, he's low-key autistic, he's passively suicidal, he's intelligent, he's a realist, he hates the military, and he's a pervert.
Shouldn't you be? To be fair, that's also very reflective of his time period, because girls do not usually dress like that in the 40s.
I mean,
like,
yes, but also...
Shouldn't you be wearing pants?
Okay, but also... I'm just saying there's a reason why I relate to him so much and why I like him so much. We're very much alike in a lot of ways.
I can see it.
I definitely relate the most to Miura and Amiguchi in this game. There is a lot with those two in particular. And Sekigahara is just also really hot, so fuck it. He gets to be thrown in.
Still laughing at that line. I mean, it's a good question.
This game can be quite funny when it wants to be.
It can be really funny when it wants to be.
Maybe wearing gym clothes wasn't the best idea.
Like, my sense of humor is a bit warped, so I don't really think of many pieces of media as funny. But this game can be funny sometimes. Some of the only games I can think of where I would actively sell them as funny are games that Kotaro Ichikoshi has written, Go Play Zero Escape, and especially either Somnium Files for funny. Those games are very horny humor, but in a good way. Zero Escape is easier to recommend because it's shorter, and also just the first two games are masterpieces that are fairly fast-paced. And then either Somnium Files is, like, some of the best gay representation I've ever seen come out of Japan, and it's also a sci-fi mystery game with a character voiced by Zach Aguilar. Oh, and also, the gay character is voiced by Sean Chiplock, who is Rivali in Breath of the Wild, and Kiyotaka Ishimaru in Danganronpa 1, and for the gays out there, Aiden from Camp Buddy and Scoutmaster Season. So that's a Venn diagram of characters. You should go play it.
You forgot the obvious one again. He's Mishima from Persona 5.
How did I forget that he's Mishima twice?
You keep forgetting that.
How did I
know him as.
How did I forget that he was Mishima fucking twice? Oh my god. I like Mishima more than most people. It's Persona 5. Why do I keep forgetting he's him? It's probably because I keep on thinking of him as Pewter from either Somnium Files and as Aiden from Camp Buddy, because, wow, I'm pretty sure the voice actor is gay, I think.
I'd have to look that up.
Regardless, he's the kind of voice actor that's chill with voice acting a main character in a gay porn game, so, like, even if he's not, that speaks to his character.
To be fair, if a lot of actors want to get paid, they gotta get used to acting in gay porn.
Camp Buddy is definitely a game that I need to make a review on at some point. I'll probably finally get around to it when I move, so in better conditions to make edited content. Because most of the content I do is unscripted or doesn't have commentary in it, because audio is an absolute bitch to do, and I think unscripted content is a lot better suited for the less refined editing and audio that I am currently available to do. But eventually, once I move and have like a soundproof room and can really finely tunely do this shit, I'll probably start doing more edited content, like reviews. I do want to do an actual serious review of Camp Buddy and Scoutmaster Season at some point. And I'll probably do one for Jock Studio when that comes out, because it's by the same people. Very excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Natsuno.
Natsuno.
Shouldn't have.
I don't know
shouldn't
why
have
you're
been
here,
out
but-
here in gym clothes.
It's dangerous to be out this late on your own. Allow me to escort you home.
Who are you?
Trying to do the gentlemanly thing here.
My
But
name
it's
is
awkward, so
Keitaro
they're both
Miura.
blushing.
My name is Keitaro Miura. I'm stationed at the armory nearby, but I'm off duty now, so I was on my way home. So, what's your name?
Natsuno. Natsuno Minami.
Which way to your place, Natsuno-san? Which way to your place, Natsuno-san?
Sorry, I'm just internalizing that line for later use.
Good question.
Fucking Lamau.
Kind of a complicated answer, though.
Yeah. Where
Wait,
is this street gonna be in 40 years? Oh.
what's that sound?
Oh, it is time.
It's time.
Oh, man. We're going from last to devastation real quick.
That shot, though, the lighting and the music.
What's going on?
And the sirens. This is... It
An
holds
air raid.
back no punches.
They're trying to bomb the factory.
Like the
But
dread
that's near where the
immediately
Karabes
hits
live.
you.
An air raid. They're trying to bomb the factory. But that's near where the Karabes live.
And you can feel the gears of despair turning in his head. Because again, this is one of the smart characters. A lot of the other characters in this game probably wouldn't think, oh, but that's near where the Karabes live. Or like their version of the Karabes. That's not a thought that would come to them. It is for Miura. And
I
again, it's
would
just such
say-
subtle characterization.
I would say, you know, if there's an air raid happening or just a general disaster, most people would think, I hope my home is okay. I hope the people I know are okay. Even if it's not directly this. People, naturally... Like, I assume that when I see a fire truck go by.
Stay here.
This is
It should be
that
safe at
times
this
100.
distance.
But what about you?
I have to go help.
Wait!
Follow him.
What? Seriously? Do I have to?
Jay knows what he's talking about. Do it.
Fine, whatever.
But this is still early enough in the relationship that they're not completely trusting yet.
Yeah.
If everything goes wrong, it's totally your fault.
Oh, not so. Alright, and then this
Okay.
scene.
So, because we didn't already have one of the best scenes in the game in one chapter, here's another of the best scenes in the game. Holy fuck, this scene is gorgeous. The
That is
lighting,
pretty.
it is... God, this is stunningly beautiful. The reds and oranges and yellows and the fire and the brown smog in the clouds and just... And this is a scene we don't see again. This isn't a scene they get to reuse. They went all out on this one scene. And it's so beautiful.
I mean, it's a scene of pure devastation. It is beautiful how horrific it is. Or it's horrific how beautiful it is, really. They had to go all out on this one scene you'll never see again. Because if they didn't, it would not stick out in your mind, and the horror of that. All these homes are gone. Who knows if all these people even got out?
Chihiro!
This is the reality of war
And
everything
with
these
full game
people-
context, the AIs were probably deleted.
Yeah.
Because they're all universal control. They were probably deleted. They don't even have corpses to bury. They're just gone. They don't exist. Existential horror. Fucking
Oh,
13
man.
Sentinels loves to be horrifying.
Love it.
Also, the voice
Although-
acting. Zach Aguilar Appreciation Hour again.
Chihiro!
Hot. Hey, hold on a sec.
And you can
Really
see,
not a good time to-
sorry, his face when he does that, like he buries his face in his hat, and then when it comes up he's scowling again, incredibly angry and disappointed in Natsuno for being dumb and not waiting where he said to. And obviously Natsuno has to follow him, but from his perspective it's such... God, it's good. He doesn't suffer fools.
Why did you follow me?
I don't know.
He doesn't even mince words.
Fine, but just stay there.
The desperation in his voice.
It's clear here, but the flames are stronger up ahead.
You're not going in, are you?
I have to. That house up ahead is where my sister's staying.
It's breaking.
This is horrible. How could they attack civilians like this?
There's a munitions factory in Higuramocho. If they just level the entire neighborhood, they can't miss.
And the horrifying implications in his voice, where he's logically thinking about it from their perspective, and it's so scary.
There's a munitions factory in Higuramocho.
Especially the second line.
If they just level the entire neighborhood, they can't miss.
He's almost whispering it because he can't bear to say it properly.
He knows
If they just
why,
level the entire neighborhood, they can't miss.
and that's how he knows how horrible it is.
Zach Aguilar, you absolute legend.
But that's...
A few things I remember him saying is that he really tried everything to put all the emotion into his performance for Keitaro, and wow, does it show.
Yep.
He specifically told me that.
And can I just
And he
say,
hoped
when I played the first, go through this scene, and I saw Kurabe House and its rubble, that filled me with a fuckload of dread.
This can't be happening. It's completely gone. It must have been a direct hit.
And the way he's choking on his words because he's so scared of what those words end up meaning. It was a direct hit on the house.
it's not even that he's afraid of what it could mean. It's almost like it's just like it's a direct hit. She's gone, and the reality is hitting him more and more. It's just like the emotions he doesn't want to feel and what the logic in his brain is saying are in direct conflict.
Chihiro! Tamao-san!
Also, this is one of the only times in the entire game that we see all caps, and it's not like the name of a robot or a password or something. This is all caps because he's screaming that loud. And there is a lot of yelling and a lot of tense shit in this game, and this is still one of the only times we see someone pushed so hard emotionally that they're screaming in all caps. That's powerful to me. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to most people, but that sticks out to me.
I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out. Like, wow. Yeah, that says a lot. I need to look up the name of this track, because
There's such a despair to it. It's so good.
this holds no punches of just the horrors of...
This whole scene
time
is
period.
horrifying and emotional and amazing. And it's so beautiful to look at and so horrifying at the same time because it's the destruction. But it's painted and shot and lit and colored so beautifully.
They don't want
This
you to look
belongs to
away.
Chihiro. This belongs to Chihiro. Chihiro! Tamao-san!
And even now, it's not in all caps anymore because it's not the moment where he thinks, fuck, my little sister is dead. My best friend is dead. Fuck, 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 fuck.
Yeah.
Even now, it's not in all caps. They use all caps so sparingly that I genuinely think this is the only time in the entire game that they ever get used for emphasis, and not for shit like passwords or robot names, etc. This
Keep
is
an eye
the
out, but I think
only
you're right.
time, I'm pretty sure this is the only time in the entire game it gets used, and that is meaningful to me.
Yeah. There might be one other point where it's used. But I'll keep an eye out if it actually was used. But even
Our
then-
mother's terrible at sewing, but she made this for Chihiro. I'd never seen her struggle with anything so hard. But she did it. It's pieced together with scraps of cloth. Not the best quality. Even still, Chihiro took it with her wherever she went.
Chihiro!
Chihiro.
You're safe.
And you can feel the relief in his voice from that.
Chihiro!
You're safe.
Like he's taking his first breath in ages at the end there.
Chihiro! Chihiro!
Oh, stop! You're gonna make me cry!
You're safe.
Zach Aguilar is an absolute legend, and I don't think he can ever be paid enough for this performance.
Where's
For he was paid,
Tamao-san?
it wasn't enough. This is passion.
Where's Tamao-san?
Right here.
You're not to know coughing in the background.
Keitaro-san!
And the way they say it at the same time.
Keitaro-san!
Tamao-san.
It's all gone.
And again, I really feel like if we got more time with Tamao and Keitaro would have been incredibly close friends. And I'd really like to expand on that when I end up writing stuff for them.
I know. But you're alive, and that's what matters.
We ran to the shelters as soon as we heard the sirens, but Chihiro-chan ran off alone. She said she was going back to the house.
'Cause you were coming home. And if nobody was there to see you, you'd be really sad.
Break my
that
heart
hurts.
like this! Like, watching this is harder, and it's like with context of the whole game.
It really is. This is already
Genuinely.
this is already painful to watch, and then you realize this little kid is a clone of someone else with their memories forced in.
No, it's even worse than that. This is a scared little child who ran headfirst into danger to see her brother, because that's who she was thinking about. And this is the last time she's going to see him.
This is the last time they're ever gonna see each other. Every time beyond this, it's not the little sister anymore. And even in the ending, where there's the point where she says, "Do a good job, big brother," or whatever the line was, that's Professor Morimura from 2188 acting for him.
Yeah.
That's not the little sister. This is the last time that this brother and sister are ever going to see each other. And it's such a horrifying bit of info to know that this was never my sister. This was always someone else, forgetting their memories like a sleeper agent until it was too late. My sister is gone. I will never be able to talk to them again. That is
I really do want to get into
horrifying.
that.
And it's so good.
It's so
God.
I really want to get into that when the reveal happens, because I guess I may as well say. I guess I may as well say it now, because there's a lot to talk about when it does happen. But what they do, or what happens to little Chihiro here, is the most horrifying thing in this entire game. And I don't even think the game knows that it is messed up, but I don't even think they know how messed up it is. And it's honestly one of the most messed up things I've ever seen a story do. And I both love it for that, but it's horrifying. And yeah, this is the last time they're talking to each other, and neither of them know it. Oh, this is getting to me. Please, I'm not crying for this scene. I'm saving my tears for another time.
Also, Allegra Clark, legend that she is, voices like 7 different fucking characters in this game. But
'Cause you were coming home. And if nobody was there to see you, you'd be really sad.
that is the peak of her performance in this game. Fight me, I will die on this hill. This is the best line delivery she has in the entire game.
Yeah. It's...
This hurts. This is a punch to the heart in the best way. This is so well done. This whole scene is so good. Miura has so many of the best scenes in this game, and he's got multiple of the best scenes in just his prologue. Like, his prologue is so good, and is just so gripping. It really is the point that really gripped me and said, no,
yeah.
This is your new hyperfixation, Hamburger. This is your new hyperfixation, and you don't have a choice in the matter.
Like, I was
This
already pretty
prologue.
Yes.
God, it's so good. It's so good. This is such an amazing example of what makes this game so special.
I was playing it, I was already invested in the mystery of everything, but all of this, I was like, this game is different. And I'd still feel that way. After everything I've seen of this game, like, no, this game is still different. The experience I got from this game is not something I may ever get again.
Chihiro.
So they're all safe and sound, huh?
Natsuno-san.
One very brief moment of reprieve before a whole new horror joins in. And it's so good. The emotional pacing of Miura's story
What is that?
is amazing.
Another American weapon?
What the?
What is that? Another American weapon?
I'm scared.
We can't stay here.
Yeah, just
Everyone, get moving!
the existential sci-fi horror of this.
I'm scared.
We can't stay here. Everyone, get moving!
Keitaro really knows how to get serious when the situation demands it. He is serious, commanding. Again, it's just such a great example of how he really could have been the true protagonist for this whole game if they chose to write it that way. He has
Really,
it.
honestly.
He has the chops to fill that role in a way that no one else quite does. Also, great song. Very, very powerful and emotional. Tense as hell.
Alright, last one.
One more scene. We are
Quickly,
2
what-
hours in.
While our emotions are still high.
Everything on that side of the Kaede River is on fire.
Looks like it's headed toward Kamizumi next.
Big brother. Why are they showing up in this era?
Hero, please, you're breaking my heart here. I'm not crying over this scene. I'm not. I refuse.
Does that belong to the Americans too?
Not that I've seen. I've never even heard of weapons like this.
How unsettling. It's almost as if they're alive.
Putting it lightly, Tamao.
I've always heard the US had an industrial advantage over us. That thing has to be one of their weapons. They've finally come for our homeland. And if we don't stop them...
Rationalize this.
Also, it's even the subtle details, like earlier, Hijiyama called it the mainland. Here, Miura calls it the homeland.
Homeland.
It's even the tiny, subtle details in word choice are just offering so much opportunity for characterization, with Miura especially. It's so strong. The localization and the writing are so ridiculously good in this game.
Tamao-san, please take care of Chihiro.
Big brother!
Stay with her and do as you're told. Understand?
Take her with you.
The way,
Take her with you.
no, the way that his voice shakes too.
Stay with her and do as you're told. Understand?
He's being serious, but he's barely holding his emotions in because he knows he has to be the serious big brother in this moment. And it's so hard for him. And this is all inflection that you only get with the voice cast. I cannot imagine playing this game subbed. Like, I'm sorry, I just cannot imagine playing this game with
I have
Japanese
no idea
voices.
what it sounds like in sub. It's
I refuse to find out, because I refuse to do this cast dirty like that.
the only time I listened to it was when
Tamao-san.
I was checking to see if Okino's and Hijiyama's log confession was the big one with the I love you. It was.
Tamao-san,
That was the only time I checked.
can I ask you to look after Natsuno-san too?
What about you?
I'm going back to the armory. You stay with Tamao-san. She'll keep you safe.
And it's this way that he's going back to the armory. He has to get in the Sentinel. He has to try and protect the people he loves. It's... God, it's so strong. It's... the way he's willing to throw his life away for them. He knows he will probably die here. And that's part of why his emotions are so on edge. But he has to protect his family. He has to protect his loved ones. It's so strong.
Now go.
Just the horror of it. Doesn't even
I'll show them that Japan can still fight.
He throws his life away, and not only does he not succeed, but he has his own life saved by being transported to the 80s, and in 1940s Japan especially, there's the extra context you need to take into account where it's shameful almost to have lived and failed. It's a point of pride in 1940s Japan to have died for your country, and that can be applied to different cultures throughout history as well, but it's especially a thing with 1940s Japan.
especially in Japan, yeah.
Dying for your country is a point of pride. It's what Hijiyama finds so much pride in. It's why it's so accurate and horrifying. So the fact that not only does Miura not save his family, not only does Miura never see his little sister again, not only does Miura never see his best friend again, not only does Miura not save his country, he fails and survives. He's forcefully shifted to an unfamiliar era where he has to read about his own failure in history books. His specific failure is documented in history forever, and he will never see the loved ones that he tried and failed to protect again. That has to be horrifying on his brain, and would absolutely drive him to suicide if he didn't have such a strong mental fortitude. Like, it's... there is so much, like... the mental fortitude this guy has to not kill himself after all of that, after the shame he must feel for not being able to see anyone he loved again, all because he failed, and now his failure is recorded in history forever. His failure, look, technically 2188 is separate from this, but we don't know that yet, so his failure is recorded in 2188. His failure to protect his loved ones and to protect his country is recorded forever.
This is what his original self wanted to put him through. This is what he did to himself just because he was so fascinated by this, all of this. It's like, you know what? That would be a cool life that I am fascinated by. You that are myself are going to live here.
There are
doing so, he puts himself through all of this.
There are so many fucked up, horrifying implications for the plot and the characterization with Miura specifically. I have to pick him as my favorite. It can't be anyone else. How?
They make...
I'm speechless at this point.
Yeah, it's like after you put it all that way, I'm like, yeah, no, this is the best route of the game. I was saying this has, you know, it was gonna be... I'm pretty sure it is, but I need to replay the whole thing to know. Nah, I'm just gonna say it right now. His route is the best one.
His is.
It is. It just is.
And again, it's the details. It's harder... Like, a lot of the other routes in the game, you can say, oh, I like it for this sentence. Like, I like Sekigahara's story because it's a really interesting amnesiac plot. I like Nenji Ogata's because it's a really strong time loop narrative with some good characterization. I really like Ryoko's because of the very strong presentation and the difficulty in figuring out routes was more engaging with her. I like Hijiyama because gay. Not that I like Hijiyama, but, like, these other routes, you can point to these big points. Miura's is so obviously the best one, and yet it's so difficult to point to any big reason why. It's like the rest of his character, it's so detail-oriented and specific, and it's all the little aspects of his character that make it so ridiculously strong and powerful and well-written. I can't praise him enough. I can't praise him enough.
This is the day I've been training for. Against the Sentinel, they don't stand a chance.
Giving himself some hope.
You hear all that?
Yeah, Juno.
I know. I'm on it.
You need to get there. Don't stay there. Don't stay there. Trust me. You need to get out.
And that is a fucking cliffhanger. Because that's the end of it. That is the end of it. That's a cliffhanger to end on. God damn. So, let's take a look at these. Keitaro Miura is a boy who shifted from 1945 to 1985. He's considerate, very earnest, and takes good care of his little sister. He hides his forehead scar with a hat. Takatoshi Hijiyama and Tamao Karabe are both his childhood friends. No one loves his country more than he does. That being said, I think there's this really interesting dynamic where, like we were talking about earlier, Hijiyama loves his country, Miura loves his people. Hijiyama's patriotism is very fake. It's very brainwashy. It's not real and authentic in the same way that Miura's is, and it's so good. Tamao Karabe, 1945. She lives in 1945 with Keitaro Miura's little sister Chihiro. Tamao Karabe has repeatedly been receiving medicine from Renigoto, which causes her to suddenly remember strange dreams. However, she starts receiving a different type of medicine one day that has the opposite effect, causing her to forget. What else is there?
Sure. Alright, I'm emotionally recovering. It didn't get me. It did not get me. It got darn close, but it did not get tears out of me this time.
Colony in satellite orbit. A colony under construction up in a satellite orbiting Earth in 2187. Once completed, it had a diameter of 30 kilometers and was docked with multiple giant cylindrical food production silos. The city is in a sea of flames due to the kaiju attacks.
I think we're both left speechless after all of that.
The
and
fact
I believe we've hit over 2 hours.
We have hit 2 hours and 10 minutes. The fact that it opens on a scene as bold as this one, and then is so bold that it ends on a cliffhanger as blatant as that. Because the other prologues tend to end on cliffhangers as well, but none of them are anywhere near as daring as that one is. Like, you feel like you've made a lot more progress and know a lot more from the other ones. You have more to grasp. You have so little with this one, and yet it is so much more gripping than any of the other ones, because while you have so little in terms of, like, core plot progression, there are so many gold pieces of characterization and of mystery set up, especially with the 2187 scene. Like, there is so much mystery to be added to 2187 via this scene, and then the characterization of the rest of his prologue is so ridiculously strong. How? How is this prologue so good? This prologue is, like, transcendently incredible and so much better than anything else up to this point. And, spoiler alert, it's going to stay as one of the best parts of the entire game. Not just his whole route, but specifically his prologue is so ridiculously good, with the scene in 2188, and with the horrifying scene in the Sea of Flames. There's so much characterization, and it's some of the only Tamao screen time we get, and it's some of the only Chihiro screen time we get before she changes, and we get great characterization of Hijiyama in this, and there's so much mystery, and it's gorgeous, and it's the first time we see 2188. Like, there's so...
It's probably the best prologue, honestly.
This is
no,
easily,
it is.
This is the best prologue in the game, and it's not even close. This is one of the best chapters in the game, and it's not even close. And it's a prologue. And we're 22% of the way through the game. This... I can't praise it enough. I don't have the words to give this the praise it needs. I can never pay it its dues.
Honestly, it was even better it's like on a replay than it was when I first played it. And I loved it when I was first playing it. It thoroughly hooked me and engaged me through all of it. It's even better on replay.
And the fact that we're able to talk for nearly 2.25 hours, we're 132 minutes into this video, and we just have so much to talk about with him. Like, when we originally floated the idea of doing this spoiler commentary playthrough together 18 months ago, back when we first did the 2021 Game Awards stream, which is the earliest stream still recorded on this channel, we were already floating the idea of doing this, and then we finally got around to it like 6 months ago. Shit's gotten in the way of that, unfortunately, but we finally got around to starting it. I was so excited for Miura specifically, and this prologue specifically, because I have so much to think about and say with this prologue and this character, and there's just... I love this game. I love this route. I love this prologue. I love this character. And it's the fact that I was able to talk for 2 hours and 13 minutes that I genuinely believe I am probably the biggest fan of this character on the planet.
Yeah. I think the length of this video enough is proof. Like, challenge somebody to compete you on this.
Because we haven't even talked about any of the rest of his fucking route yet. And the next video is going to be more of him. He has more plot. There is more. The next video is also gonna be him. Like, it's just... I don't necessarily know if his other chapters are going to reach over 2 hours like this one has, but...
They're gonna be long, at least. They're gonna be long.
This is the first one that managed to surpass an hour, and it surpassed 2. I am the
Took a
biggest
while to
Miura
upload.
fan on the planet.
Yes, you are. I will challenge anyone who tries to claim it from you and just like, oh yeah, we'll record an episode talking about just the prologue that's longer than this.
I love Keitaro Miura so much. I cannot wait to play more of him. But I think that's about all the time we have. I mean, we have been recording for over 2 hours on one video, so let's do some closing thoughts. What do we think about this boy, this character, this route, this game? What do we think?
We played this prologue like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and even then I still feel like I took it for granted. Like, no, this is phenomenal. This prologue alone is like one of the top experiences you can have in a video game in general. This is it's like, despite some of my nitpicks with how, you know, some routes end or some stuff that I don't feel like it resolves in some ways, I don't care. This is still one of the best games I have ever played, and this prologue and how much we've had to go into it proves it. All this character detail proves it. All the phenomenal voice acting that nearly put me to tears. Like, you have to be darn special to get that out of me.
And it's so strong in such subtle ways. It's all of the little things. There's so much detail and little analysis that you can glean out of this game and this character in this prologue that is so easy to miss, because I missed it. I missed a bunch of this the first time around, but replaying it, I've really come to think, holy shit, some of this is insane. Like, this is... like, the little things, like how he is forever going to have to remember his failure is immortalized in history books. His failure to protect his country and to save his loved ones. It's... like, Hijiyama kind of deals with that, but nowhere near as badly as Miura. Like, Miura just... God, there are so many little details to appreciate with this character. I can never praise him enough. I can never praise him enough. He will never get the praise that he is due, and George Kamitani, lead writer for this game, you are an absolute legend for writing this character. Thank you. Zach Aguilar, thank you for voicing him. I don't know who the Japanese voice actor is, but you did a great job too, I'm assuming.
I mean, it's 13 Sentinels. I'm pretty sure they all were phenomenal. I expect nothing less than perfection for this game.
I've been waiting for so long to record this. I waited like 18 months to record it the first time, and then we had to rush through basically every scene that Natsuno was present in just because we didn't have time. But this one, I feel like this video is appropriate. I feel like this is one that can go up on the channel. This is the one that really actually has what we need to say in it.
This one really hit me.
I am finally satisfied with having discussed this prologue in a way that I wasn't last time, that I've been waiting for 18 months to do. This prologue is why I adore this game. This prologue is why it is my go-to recommendation and why I annoyingly shove it down everyone's throats, because they need to play this prologue. The rest of the game is phenomenal too, but they need to play this. This character deserves more attention. This character deserves more love, more analysis, because the fanbase doesn't care about this character. Barely any. Like, this is not one of the characters that is popular with the fanbase. Everyone loves Hijiyama and Okino. You get some Amiguchi fans. Juro and Iori get a lot of fans because of the poster people. You get some Megami. You get a lot of Natsuno, but Miura Miura just doesn't get much love from the fanbase at all. And he
No clue
deserves so much more of it. And it's shit like this that really does make me think, I am the biggest fan of this character on the planet. I need people to see what I see with him. He is so strongly written. He is so good. He deserves more.
Like, this recording, I genuinely found your insights eye-opening, really.
There is
Like,
so much.
Like, I still got a lot about how much we discussed about him on our last recording, but this time especially, like, I feel like I'm looking at the character in a whole new way. So if your goal is to get other people to understand why you love him as much as you do, you've certainly gotten me a step closer to that. It's like, wow.
And we're definitely gonna have more time next
And I
time.
already loved Miura. Now you're making me love him even more. I didn't know that was possible.
Well, I'm gonna make you love him more next time on 13 Sentinels Aegis Rims spoiler commentary playthrough series. I am Hamburger Chariot, and this is my best friend Mirth Mauser. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps the algorithm and my mental health. Thank you so much for watching this literal movie-length analysis of a 20-minute scene. Thank you so much. I hope you found our insights interesting, and I hope you continue to find them interesting in the next episode, where we will have even more to talk about, because there is so much to talk about that they had to let you do the next scene immediately. Like, if they didn't let you see the next chapter immediately with him, it would be riots. It would be horrible, because it leads so perfectly into it. That's just how much there is. God, I'm already looking forward to talking about the next scene and the scene after. Okay, I need to stop. This video
is impossible to stop talking about him.
This video is 2 hours and 22 minutes long. Let's call it here. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next time. This is Hamburger Chariot and Mirth Mauser signing out. See you, everybody.
See you then.